Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I just read Ghoulslayer by Darius Hinks and it was actually pretty good, but in a way you might not expect. So naturally, Ghoulslayer follows Gotrek and Melanet in a story that involves them killing a whole bunch of ghouls, as you might have deduced by the name. They are furthermore joined by a broken Stormcast Eternal engineer. Like one of the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's, he is prone to twitching, stuttering and zoning out. Even sparks. Regardless, their story actually does not make up the majority of the novel, as there are two more storylines present. One follows a noble king and his lovely wife as they go on a crusade to kill the awful rebels that have threatened their kingdom. In a tale of romance, humor and glory, they seek out to quench the rebellion and restore order so they can finally retire in peace. The other follows people from the Amethyst Kingdom of Morbium. Morbium is one of the final surviving Amethyst Kingdoms and has remained hidden from Nagash by using a soul-powered shroud shield. For those unaware, the Amethyst Kingdoms were kingdoms in Shaiish where the living lived together with the undead in harmony. Most were destroyed by Chaos or Sigmar during the Age of Chaos, and the surviving ones were mostly conquered by Nagash afterwards. The continued survival of Morbium is thus somewhat of a miracle, but this might soon come to an end as hordes of ghouls attack their realm. To know if Morbium survives, if the royal's love story has a happy end, and to see how Gotrek ties into all of this, you will have to read it for yourself. The best part of the novel is the world building of Morbium. See, Morbium is not part of the established factions, and thus Hinks could get proper weird with them, from side-wheeling knights riding bone constructs to magical undead pokeballs. Morbium has a lot of cool stuff and its culture plays a major role in the story. Most lore thingies were shown naturally in the story without too much exposition, and for a lore nerd like me, it is nice to be surprised by world building that isn't copied or based off the codices. Another highlight is the POV given from the ghoul's point of view. I don't want to say too much because for some people this might come off as a bit of a surprise throughout the novel, but there are some parts written from the perspective of the invading ghouls which are amazing. It is a nice play on the common two-perspective war stories so often found in Black Library, and it has a good plot, while the ending is also just amazing. I do want to disclaim though that this was written before the big overhaul of 3rd edition, so let's just say that the units of this horde are not really representative of the rest of the faction. Then there's Trakos, who is probably my favorite character from the novel. This broken Stormcast is really weird because he isn't present in the previous stories, he isn't on the cover, and he is literally never mentioned anywhere except in the text of the novel. Despite all that, he really steals the show in the Gotrek sections. He acts as a much better character to bounce off for Melanet, he provides a lot of comic relief, and even causes most of the emotional parts of their arc to occur in the first place. Not to mention that a celestial vindicator who believes Sigmar may no longer have faith in him is a sight to behold. Oh yeah, and he sings, so there's that. What's so weird about this novel though is how little it matches with anything else. So like I said, Trakos just comes out of nowhere. Seriously, the novel just has Melanet mentioning, oh yeah, he just walked up to us and he joined us sometime in the past. And that's it. Also, the reason why Gotrek goes on his mission, or is where he is, has nothing to do at all with the previous novels. Melanet's arc remains in line with Realmslayer, but outside of her and the Fireslayer's rune, that book might as well not exist. So if you really want, you could almost skip the first book of the series and just start with this one. Especially since, like I mentioned, they only get a third of the screen time anyways. Another thing I disliked is Melanet. Even though I have only really read a few Gotrek and Felix novels, I can tell you she's a poor replacement so far. Gotrek and Felix worked because Felix and him had a good relationship with an interesting dynamic. Felix might have needed motivation at times, but at the end of the day he was a proper hero. Gotrek and Felix provided each other with motivation to do good and to keep on going. They had differences and banter, but as a result, it was still a story of two begrudging heroes against the world. Then take Melanet. Her relationship with Gotrek is pretty simple, she needs him dead to sell off his rune for power. Gotrek meanwhile doesn't give her the light of day because he hates elves. Kinda racist, but he is right, she is a real piece of shit, who would gladly cut your face to cushion her chair. There is no spark between her and Gotrek whatsoever, and in this novel her conversations with her amulet are more meaningful than those with Gotrek. But not only is Melanet a poor replacement for Felix, she also just blows as a character. We continually see her do downright evil stuff and talk about how edgy she is. Yet every time something dark has to be done to complete the mission, she hesitates or fails to find the strength. She is wildly inconsistent and just feels annoying to read about. Like, either man up and get a spine, or act like a proper hero. This wannabe anti-hero stuff just sucks from an entertainment perspective. But that miniature rant about Melonette aside, her canine magic parts were pretty cool. We get to see some witch elf blood magic and bloodthirst, which was nice. And altogether, the magic descriptions in this novel were pretty well handled in my opinion. Also featuring soul rituals of Morbium, Caradron mech systems, and Stormcast blasting ones. All in all, Ghoulslayer gets 4 to 5 stars. It has a ton of cool world building about the Amethyst Kingdoms and Flesh Accords. It has some really nice arcs and emotional moments, and there is Strakos, the broken celestial vindicator with singing skills more damage than his brain. What keeps it from being perfect is the inconsistent, poorly explored character of Melonette, and the fact that it doesn't fit into the Gotrek arc whatsoever. And while it is weird to have Gotrek and companions be the worst thing about a Gotrek novel, here we are. Regardless, I am still very curious to see where his arc goes in Ghoulslayer. See ya. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and click ringing the bell to appease the Great Horned Rat. For more lore content, please check my main channel and leave any book recommendations in the comments down below. I gotta get back to reading the next book.